Alright guys, so this is Kyle, I'm Kyle, and this is the first video entry in my video blog covering Music Midtown, the festival that's in downtown Atlanta, the music festival. And I started this because I'm going this year and I'm really excited, and I know that thousands of other people are going and they're also super excited. And so this is going to be talking about some of the artists that are headlining the festival in September in downtown Atlanta. So the first person we're going to talk about today is Lana del Rey. A lot of you may know who she is. A lot of you might not. And if you don't know who she is, you probably need to get out from under your rock because she's kind of a big deal. And we're going to talk about why. So, Lana del Rey was born Elizabeth Grant June 21st, 1986 in Manhattan. And her parents are super duper rich. Her parents are divorced and her dad's super rich and buys her all kinds of stuff, and she sings about it in some of her songs. She lived in suburbia New York, so not right downtown in Manhattan, but on the outskirts, until she was 15, where she got sent to the Kent boarding school in Connecticut because she was a bad girl. According to a 2012 interview she did with British GQ, her dad sent her to this boarding school to help her deal with her alcohol dependence at 15. She has a song called This Is What Makes Us Girls, and she talks about a lot of the stuff she did right before she got sent off to boarding school, and she kind of sounds like a rebel. So, Lana grew up, got out of her alcohol dependence, and she's been sober for like 11 years now, and now she's a superstar. Her debut single, Video Games, was released in the fall of 2011. The single was well received by critics and the internet, and it charted very well internationally. It peaked at #1 in Germany and a couple other European countries. It cracked the top 10 in England, and it charted at 15 on the US rock charts. In mid-January 2012, a couple weeks before her debut album was supposed to drop, she went on Saturday Night Live. She performed 2 songs, and everybody hated it. The performance was met with overwhelmingly negative responses. It was kind of like this chick was awesome 2 seconds ago with Video Games, and now we hate her because she did bad on Saturday Night Live. Brian Williams, the NBC anchor, called her performance one of the worst outings in SNL history, and called Lana herself the least experienced musical guest in the show's history itself. Ouch. Amidst all of that controversy, Daniel Radcliffe, who was the host that night, he did defend her and said that it was kind of a big deal, that she had every right to be nervous and choke up. Amidst all of this, and even though nobody really liked her SNL performance, Born to Die still managed to debut at #2 on the Billboard charts, as well as #1 in England and numerous other charts in Europe and Australia. At the end of the year, in December of 2012, Born to Die ranked on a lot of critics' top 10 albums of 2012. It was named Hype Magazine's #2 album of 2012. Other singles from the album that you may have heard, may not have heard besides Video Games, is the title track, Born to Die. That video became a big deal because it's kind of graphic, and it shows her singing on a throne with a crown beside 2 lions, and nobody knows why the lions are there. Blue Jeans is also a big single that charted internationally. Summertime Sadness and National Anthem. A lot of you may have heard Summertime Sadness as like this techie dubstep crap, but that's not the original at all. Cedric Graves or whoever remixed it, and it did manage to chart at #6 on the US charts and get her to be more well known, but that's not the original, and it sucks compared to the original, so there's that. The video for Summertime Sadness caused a little bit of controversy because in it she plays a lesbian with actress Jamie King. And the single National Anthem was released on July 4th of 2012, and it caused a big uproar because in the video she plays Jackie Kennedy and rapper A$AP Rocky plays JFK. And so not a lot of people really liked that. In October of 2012, she released Paradise, which was like an 8-track EP. It also served as like the bonus tracks on the deluxe edition of Born to Die. The first single, Ride, was released and all the critics liked it, just like they did Video Games. some critics compared her voice to Adele's in it, which I don't really get. I don't get an Adele vibe. And they also compared it to Brandon Flowers, the lead singer of The Killers, which I also don't understand. Paradise did manage to chart fairly on the charts, not as good as Born to Die, but then again, it was only like 8 songs, so it wasn't as big of a deal for other artists, but since Lana did it, it was kind of a huge deal. Born to Die and Paradise packaged together was nominated for Best Pop Vocal Album at the Grammy Awards, so that was kind of a big deal. She also last year was featured on the Great Gatsby soundtrack on the song Young and Beautiful. It charted in the top 20 of the US charts, and at that time it was the highest charting Lana single yet, before that crappy Summertime Sadness remix. So after a year of international touring and headlining Lollapalooza last year in Chicago, in February of this past year, she announced the release of her second CD, Ultraviolence. She also announced that the album, almost in its entirety, was co-produced by Black Keys frontman Dan Auerbach. In April, she headlined Coachella both weekends in California. Her performance drew rave reviews from critics and the internet. A lot of critics said she was one of the best performers of the festival, amidst Muse, Arcade Fire, Nas, Lord, all of them, which was a far cry to 2 years ago when everybody hated her on Saturday Night Live. The performance was also significant because Lana debuted her lead-off single from Ultraviolence, West Coast, at the show. Within 24 hours of the single being released on iTunes, it managed to chart at number 2 on the American iTunes chart and the top 10 on a bunch of other countries. And Ultraviolence was released this past month, June, to massive sales and critical acclaim. It has one of the highest Metacritic scores of the year so far. And it debuted at number 1 on the Billboard chart, beating out other contenders like Jack White and Jennifer Lopez and Coldplay. Lana is expected to go on tour sometime in the fall to support Ultraviolence. It's not sure where the dates are yet announced. So if you don't get to see her at Music Midtown, A, you suck, and B, you still have a chance. So that's Lana Del Rey. She's a pretty big deal. If you haven't heard of her before, I'd check out Blue Jeans, check out Ultraviolence, and check out Cruel World, all by Lana Del Rey. So if you like her, you can leave comments and tell me how right I am, which I know. And if you disagree and you don't like her, don't comment on it, because I'll get upset. So this is the first entry in the 6-part series about Music Midtown, and I'm done.